Welcome to Real Aviation Facts. In today's video, Sud Aviation Caravelle. Highlights of this aircraft. First French airliner with jet propulsion. 30 years of service. France's first jet-powered airliner was among the first short and medium-range air-jet, turbine-powered transport aircraft. Also new was that Caravelle carried her engines and nutshells at the back of the fuselage. This configuration primarily sought to achieve better wing performance, but this also led to a remarkable reduction in noise in the cabin. The Caravelle was a huge boost for French civil and military aviation, even though the engines and other components were initially dependent on British constructions. French pioneer with tail drive. The Caravelle was a product of the early 50s. Sud Aviation's design envisaged a capacity of 52 passengers. But after its first flight, in 1955 it increased significantly. When the Caravelle Mk-12 came out in 1970, it offered place to 140 passengers. And about 35 airlines in 24 countries flew with this type. The Caravelle was known for its interior being better insulated from noise than the other jet airliners of the first generation. All versions spoiled the passengers with an lavish interior, spacious seating, and unobstructed views. The relatively low fuel consumption increased its economic advantage for the airlines. When it was obsolete in the 80s, the Caravelle was slowly and reluctantly removed from the service line. However, it was also successfully used in other contexts. Many flew on the cargo service, some as VIP aircraft, others as multifunctional aircraft, or for electronic reconnaissance in military service. The Caravelle was a success for France. It could easily be included in the timetable. The placing of its engines and tail nutshells was absolutely new. At the time, American aircraft manufacturers still mounted the engines in wing nutshells, and the British built them into the wing roots. Caravelle 3 Altair. Alitalia operated a large Caravelle fleet. In 1965, 21 were in service. The Altair entered service in 1960 and was eventually sold to Ecuador, where she flew scheduled services in the 70s. The elevator was placed at half height on the stabilizer, so that it remained free of the jet of exhaust gases. The beautiful tailplane was a feature of the Caravelle. Early aircraft had a comb from the center of the fuselage to the stabilo, on which the radio antennas were mounted. In the planned Caravelle 10A, the wing roots had to be extended at the front, and the flaps had to be executed as double-slit valves. However, they were only built as prototypes. The Rolls-Royce Avon engines delivered a lot of power, but with high consumption. The Caravelle became more economical after the Pratt & Whitney JT8D bypass motors were installed. On the 10B, the wings of the Caravelle had, thanks to the missing engine suspensions, a favorable aerodynamic shape. To boundary layer guides were built on the wingtip. For the different versions, the hull of the Caravelle was extended several times. Initially, there were only about 50 passenger seats. In the last version, there were 140 in economy class. The fuselage front of the Caravelle was based on that of the British de Havilland Comet, the first jet airliner in the world. In the cockpit were usually only the pilot and a co-pilot. The cabin windows had a special rounded, triangular shape. The far rear engines reduced the cabin noise level much more than all other first-generation jet airliners. Continuous improvements. Caravelle 3. Between 1961 and 1977, Tunis Air operated 9 different Caravelles. Series 3 combined the original fuselage with the stronger Rolls-Royce Savon engines. Caravelle 11R. The version 11R had a 1.93 meters longer hull and a large cargo hatch. This example supplied France's nuclear test facilities in the Pacific from Haiti. Caravelle Mk-12. The Caravelle Mk-12 was 4.3 meters longer than the original. Air Inter flew it to 23 destinations within France. The aircraft shown here could accommodate 128 passengers. Technical data Caravelle Mk-12. Type: short and medium range aircraft. Engines: to Pratt & Whitney JT8D9 bypass motors with 65.7 kilonewtons thrust each. Maximum cruising speed: 825 kilometers per hour at 7,620 meters altitude. Flight ceiling: 10,900 meter. Range: 4,040 kilometer. Weight: empty 29,500 kilograms. Loaded 58,000 kilograms. Payload: 52 to 64. Super Caravelle Max 104. Caravelle Mk-12 Max 140 passengers. Dimensions: wingspan 34.9 meters. Length 36.3 meters. Height 9.02 meters. Wing area 146.7 square meters. Operational data. Speed. Of the first jet-powered airliners, the Caravelle was not the fastest. However, she was the first short-haul jet-powered transport aircraft and twice as fast as the piston-powered twin-engine aircraft still active in the 50s. Caravelle 3. 805 kilometers per hour. Comet for C. 861 kilometers per hour. DC-9. 900 kilometers per hour. Range. For a short-haul aircraft, the routes of the Caravelle lines were between 150 and 1,000 kilometers. The later DC-9 aimed for the same range, although the Comet had a longer range. It was mostly used for short and medium-range freight purposes. Passengers. Although the Caravelle could initially accommodate almost 100 passengers with a tight seat arrangement, 64 into classes were more common. In business class, 4 passengers sat side by side. In economy class 5. Caravelle 3. Max 99. Comet for C. Max A 118. DC-9. Max 90. Caravelle series. From 1959 to 1973, the Toulouse St. Martin factory produced this beautiful aircraft at full speed. Sterling. The Caravelle Mark 12, in service with the Danish Sterling Airways, carried 140 passengers. The company was one of the operators that flew the Caravelle until the 80s. Long in service. Air Inter remained loyal to the Caravelle for many years. The company had 14 aircraft, with which it maintained an extensive domestic lineage. Luxury aircraft. Some Caravelles were converted for VIP flights, low noise. The stable flying behavior and a luxurious interior provided the framework for conferences and discussions. New engines. The Caravelle Mark 7 was test carrier of the General Electric CJ805 bypass engines with short fairing, which were intended to reduce fuel consumption. Facts and figures. The prototype SE210 Caravelle completed its first flight on May 27, 1955. The shape of the hull front stems from the de Havilland Comet. The Super Caravelle, whose first flight took place on March 3, 1964, was a refinement of the Series 3 and 4. The French government financially supported the development of the first Caravelle aircraft. The last Caravelle Mark 12 was the biggest and strongest of them all. The maiden trip of the Caravelle Mark 12 took place on October 29, 1970. This was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. See you next week with another fact-filled aviation video.